What if your feelings are your ticket to freedom? Not just for yourself and those you love, but for the whole world. And by freedom, I mean equality. I mean creativity. I mean something new, sustainable, and accessible to everyone. Welcome to Hello. My name is Jenna, and today I'm going to talk about feelings. I'm going to talk about the things that we carry. I'm going to talk about our passions. I'm going to talk about our anger because so often we are taught to numb these things or hush these things because they're not acceptable or they're too much. How many of you can relate to that too much notion, especially if you're a woman and you've spoken out? It's been a central theme of my life. But I am grateful to say that the poet and speaker Audre Lorde has been speaking to me from the beyond. And I am so grateful that her words are so powerful and infinite and can lodge their way into my being and hopefully your being because they are so freeing. But before I share her words, let me just talk about feelings for a second, okay? Balance is always important. We are in an age where we're learning about things like meditation and responding calmly and rationally. And of course, there is a place for that. Of course, we need to respect each other when we communicate. Of course, we all need to be able to calm down. But I want to be careful and not take that too far because, my friends, we feel a lot. We get angry a lot. We feel sad a lot. We experience heartbreak. And part of the reason we experience these things are because we are meant to collaborate with them. We are meant to work with our feelings. And I think, especially with a lot of, the way that we're kind of encouraged to approach it is to work through a feeling so we cannot have to deal with it anymore. Like, and I can relate to that. For the longest time, I've had some difficult feelings, some things that are not popular to feel, some things that are not fun to feel. And I just wanted to accelerate through it, just get through it so that I could get to that point where I was experiencing joy and again, or where it just didn't bother me anymore. And I get bothered by a lot of things. Okay. If you've been listening to this for a while, you know that. And it's hard to be bothered by things. It's hard to be constantly annoyed or irritated or frustrated with being on other people's timelines. I personally am someone who gets annoyed a lot, who gets angry a lot. And for the first half of my life, I shoved that down. I didn't want to work with it because it wasn't accepted. When I was 13, I was very outspoken and energetic and was nicknamed Adrenaline by a mean boy at the church because my first and middle name are Jenna Lynn. So he would call me Adrenaline. God, he was such a dick. But like, that was incredibly harmful. He took this part of me that was energetic and exuberant and loud in most of the time good ways. This part of me that was learning about, I had this big energy inside me, and like any 13-year-old, I was learning how to hold it and I was shamed for it. It was a similar situation in college when I was very outspoken about women's rights and was nicknamed a feminist as if it was a bad thing. I've always kind of gone against the grain. I've always been able to look at a situation and see some of the problems and have creative solutions. And for a long time, that has made me an outcast. And so I learned a lesson to just be quiet, to just shove it down, to be self-destructive because it's not accepted, or at least not accepted in the way that I think it should be. The best parts of me, the outspoken parts of me, the creative parts of me, were always accepted by the people who mattered. It's just that we're so conditioned to fit into our social circles sometimes that we take certain kinds of rejections as, well, there must be something wrong with us and what we feel, so we have to just push it down. We have to just be quiet because we can't say or do the upsetting thing. My friends, our feelings of anger, annoyance, sadness are meant to be our collaborators. We are meant to work with all we feel. This is surfacing in my life right now as a series of upsetting dreams. As you know, I do a lot of dream work. A lot of my psychic gifts are born through my dreams, but the last 2 weeks, almost every night, I've had a stressful dream. And it's not fun. It's not fun to wake up and feel stressed, but it's not my body and mind working against me. It's my body and mind processing something and trying to bring something to the surface, to my conscious awareness. Because when you wake up and you feel stressed, you remember it. And so these stressful dreams are not meant to harm my body and mind. They're meant to bring something to my awareness, something I'm meant to speak out on. And in fact, these stressful dreams culminated in a poem that I wrote yesterday, right alongside the eclipse, called The Day I Looked to the Sun. I released it exclusively on Instagram. Eventually, I'll probably share it on here. But if you want to hear that poem in its like best light, find me on Instagram. My username is JDillReals. So like JDILLREALS. And you can go and find it there. But these dreams that I had were coming to the surface in my mind because I was meant to channel this stress into progressive change. Because these things that were stressing me out in my dreams were related to real life problems, both for me individually and the collective. They were related to issues of social justice. And I've come to learn about my dreams is that when I dream, I'm not just tapping into my individual problems, I'm tapping into a collective problem. You've heard all about the reoccurring dream that I had where I was back in the school system and knew I didn't belong there. Well, over and over again, I had that dream that I was back teaching and I knew I shouldn't be there. Well, it wasn't just, healing for me walking away from my teaching career. I was also tapping into the collective harm that institutions have done to all of us. There's so many corrupt institutions and corporations that we've been conditioned and robotically programmed to just follow and submit to. And these dreams, these very stressful recurring dreams, I mean, I had this dream for a year and a half, multiple times a month. It was trying to bring to my awareness this corruption when it comes to institutions, and it was encouraging me to speak out on it. And this is my other point, the definition of release. Now, I have an episode called True Release, which you should definitely listen to, but I want to talk about it briefly on here because it connects to this thing that I'm saying about meditation. Again, we're taught to just be calm. We're taught to just center. Again, there's a place for that, but we cannot shift all the way to being calm and centered, when there is a place for our feelings of anger. To release something doesn't mean you're letting it go all the time. Sometimes it does, but to release something means you are taking a vision or a passion of yours that's been inside of you, inside your spirit, your psyche, your heart, and you are releasing it to the world. Meaning it's like a child that you've been raising, and now you're going to let that child go out on their own path when they're 18. They're going to pursue their own passions, but you're not letting that child go in that you're just leaving them. You're going to continue to watch them, to work with them, to see what this thing that you've been nurturing can do now that you've successfully helped it develop to adulthood. Sometimes releasing something means that you are releasing a creative project, idea, something that's been brewing in your mind out to the world so the world can see what you've made and work with it. So you can start something new. So to release, and this is a big theme in terms of the eclipse, right? Because this eclipse is happening near the South Node. So it's all about releasing. Releasing doesn't necessarily always mean that we're letting something go and we're moving on. It means we've nurtured something and it's time to bring it out into the public to see how it can shine. That's what releasing can mean. And this is what working with our feelings can create. We feel so much and so deeply, and our feelings are powerful. I think it's why we've been conditioned by capitalism and racism and sexism and homophobia to suppress how we feel. I mean, there's been literal laws against expressing your love, you know, for the queer folks and for even interracial marriages. There were literal laws suppressing that kind of love. And these kinds of things get suppressed so that they can be controlled, so that we can be conditioned to behave in a way that, quote unquote, serves the corruption. We have to be in touch with our feelings. We have to work with them because our feelings are what drive us to action, both daily and as a whole. You might find that you have some feelings you keep coming back to. For me, it's my anger and my sense of annoyance. But when I got to a place where I stopped rejecting it and suppressing it and stood up and was like, okay, I'm so angry. How can I work with this in a way that can help me, those I love, and everybody? Collaborate with your feelings. I can't say that enough. When emotion surfaces for you, especially if it's a recurring one, ask yourself, how can I work with this? What action is this feeling calling me to? Maybe it's a conversation you need to have. Maybe it's a sadness that you need to write about. Maybe it's a feeling tied to a creative project that you need to release. I sense that there's some of you out there who need to speak now more than ever. There's something that you need to release, meaning a passion project, an idea, something that is a seed for yourself, those you love, and the collective. This is where my sister Audre Lordes are going to come in. This is from her essay, Poetry is Not a Luxury. She's so brilliant, and I've been sitting with, some of her words for a while now. So have a brief little book club with me for a second. As they become known to and accepted by us, our feelings and the honest exploration from them become sanctuaries, right? Places of safety and spawning grounds, right? This is literally where something is born for the most radical and daring of ideas. I'm going to read that again. As they become known to and accepted by us, our feelings and the honest exploration of them become the sanctuaries and spawning grounds for the most radical and daring of ideas. They become a safe house for that difference so necessary to change and the conceptualization of any meaningful action. They become a safe house for that difference so necessary to change and the conceptualization of any meaningful action. My friends, our feelings are what motivate us to act. We cannot suppress them. We cannot deny them. Audre Lorde goes on to say, the white fathers told us, I think, therefore I am. The Black mother within each of us, the poet, whispers in our dreams, I feel, therefore I can be free. I have to read that again because it's so good. The white fathers told us, I think, therefore I am. The Black mother within each of us, the poet, whispers in our dreams, I feel, therefore I can be free. We have been conditioned for so long to suppress our feelings, to distract ourselves, to numb ourselves, because if we're numb, we're not going to try to change things. And if we hate ourselves, if we think there's no place for us and how we feel, well, then we're going to buy things that make us feel how we think we want to feel. We're going to get those dopamine hits and leave it at that. Dopamine never changed the world, my friend. I mean, there's literally like a drug named after it, okay? I feel, therefore I can be free. I invite you today to treat your feelings as a collaborator, as a friend that's calling you to act in a certain way for a certain purpose. There's a reason for your anger. There's a reason for your sadness. There's a reason for your joy. There's a reason for it all. It's time to act. We need you to give birth to that idea. All right. A lot of my other dreams have to do with me either being pregnant again or having a baby again. And this isn't for a long time. I had a dream where I was separated from a baby that I had. Like the doctor's family, in these dreams had literally cut me off from a child I had birthed. And I discovered it years later and was so angry that I had been separated from this child against my will. The reason my dreams have been and are showing me children and pregnancy is because our creativity is literally a child. It is this precious force of life inside us that needs to be nurtured and connected. And our feelings are what nurture creativity. Y'all know when you watch something fake, right? Part of the reason why so many TV shows suck these days is because there's nothing genuine in it. It's about money. There isn't genuine nurturing or creativity in it. When something really touches your heart, like you really feel it, that's because it was nurtured. It was treated like a child. It was treated like a pregnancy. Think about this. Your creativity is like a pregnancy. It's like an infant. It's something that deserves to be honored, nurtured, protected. And it's something that's meant to be with you throughout your entire life, no matter what stage it's in. We never leave our children. Sometimes when they're adults, we get along with them that much better, right? Our relationship with our creativity and our feelings changes and evolves. So today, I invite you to see your creativity and your feelings as a child that you are nurturing, that you are learning how to work with. And here's the thing about kids, they're all different. Even if they share the same genetics, they're all different. So what nurturing your feelings and creativity looks like for you might look different than somebody else, and that's great. That's how it's supposed to be. We need our collective differences to build a more equal humanity. There's a reason we're all born different. It's because the world needs us all. We need us all. We need all of our various types of creativity. We need all of our feelings because, again, it is those feelings that spurn action. And this can start simply for you today. This can be as simple as, instead of ignoring your anger, ask yourself why you're angry. And I encourage you to have a journal or even just a note piece of whatever you can write on, or a Google Doc. Just say, why am I angry? Words will come to you. Your spirit will speak to you. And once you know why, then the next step and the next step of what to do with that happens. You can do the same thing for why am I sad? Why am I joyful? Why do I have all this energy? Whatever feeling has a lot of energy right now, meaning it's really making you almost like jittery or you want to talk about it, whatever it is, bring your attention to that feeling. Ask yourself why. Nurture your feelings. Don't just try to release them in the sense that you let them go and you don't think about them anymore. Release them in that it's like, okay, how can I put this outside of me for a second so I can see it and how to nurture it? And how can I share this with the world? Because no matter who you are, you have something you need to share with the world. And it's rather powerful. There's something you need to speak. There's something you need to make. And there's a connection that you need to grow. And the time is now. We are in the midst of great and powerful change, and you are a key agent. You are a key piece of that change. Please share this episode with somebody who needs to hear it. And of course, and as always, I'm grateful to you for coming.